Hello and welcome to Rays of Hope, brought to you by the Purchase Area Sexual Assault and Child Advocacy Center. I'm your host, Amy Clevedence. Albert Einstein once said, "The world is a terrible place, not because of the evil that is in the world, but because of the people that do nothing about it." We've all been in situations in our lives where we've observed behaviors of others or circumstances where we felt that something just wasn't right. And what identifies us one way or another is what we chose to do in that moment, either to get involved or not to get involved. And for many of us, we have this internal drive to want to get involved, and yet we feel like maybe it's not our place, or maybe we don't have the tools necessary to know how it is we need to just take it to that next level and step up. I'm very pleased today to have with me Tracy Conerton. Tracy is the Prevention Education Coordinator for PASAC, and she's here today to talk about how to be a good bystander. Tracy, at PASAC we talk about some heavy issues, sexual assault and rape, and this type of power-based personal violence. It's really easy for individuals to feel like they're not involved. I often hear you in the office talking about you're already involved. Every one of us, in some way or another, we're involved. Can you explain?
Sure. With Green Dot, a program that I work with in the high schools, one of the first things we do is we have the students identify how they are connected to the issues of violence that we're going to talk about during the day. They may not be directly connected. They may not have been a victim of stalking or dating violence or sexual assault or bullying, and I hope that they haven't been. But when they really think about it, they've witnessed it, they know someone who has been a victim, or maybe they just have witnessed an experience where they knew that something bad was about to happen. We have all been in those situations. We are all bystanders. Green Dot is a bystander intervention program. So once they realize, and I actually have them write it down on a slip of paper, once they realize that they are connected to the issues, even if they haven't directly experienced it, even if it's because of a friend or loved one, or maybe they just want to help, maybe they just want to become more educated so that they could help someone who was directly affected. Once they realize that they're a part of it, that we all are, they're much more eager to learn how to become active bystanders.
And anybody can be a bystander.
Oh, we're all bystanders. Mm-hmm. Every day of our lives, when we're out in the communities, when we're in our schools, when we're at our jobs, we're watching, we're observing. We encounter experiences every minute of the day. So we are all bystanders. It's just whether we choose to be passive, which is where we might encounter something that makes us feel a little strange, or we think something's not quite right, and we choose to do nothing, whether it's because we're too busy, we're uncomfortable, we're afraid of confrontation, or if we choose to be active bystanders. Maybe we step in. Maybe we choose to go up and directly confront this situation. Maybe we decide to call the authorities if it's a potentially violent situation. However we choose to address it, we're choosing to do something, and therefore we're being active.
Let's talk about this program that you're involved in. Green Dot is a bystander program, mm-hmm. and I'm hesitant to use the word program because it implies that it's complicated or that you need training.
Right.
Can you break it down for us?
Sure. Green Dot, I hesitate to call it a program as well because it implies that we're going to give a how-to, and we're going to do an all-day training maybe with the students of, okay, this is how you were before and this is how you need to be after. Green Dot's more of a long conversation. It provides information for the students. It does provide statistics. I often emphasize that these statistics that we're talking about when it comes to power-based personal violence are people. We talk about people. We may talk about numbers, but we try to think of those numbers as individuals to bring it home, to bring it closer to the students. It's a program that's based on the idea that if we all look out for each other, if we all do green dots, which I'll talk about in a moment, that will spread, that idea will spread across the map, and soon we won't even need to worry about red dots, which are acts of violence, because they won't be allowed, they won't be accepted. If we're all looking out for one another, there won't even be the chance for violence to occur in the first place. So, the most simple aspect of it is the green dot and the red dot. Green dot is good, red dot is bad. We try and simplify it as much as possible. Green dot is any act, or excuse me, I'll start with the red dot. The red dot is any act of violence. But not only that, not only the boyfriend hitting the girlfriend in the hallway, not only the bully using his or her words to threaten or harass, but rather it's also the people who see it, who witness it, and turn their backs and walk away. So you can be doing a red dot not by just committing an act of violence, but seeing that and witnessing it and not doing a thing about it.
Thereby furthering.
Exactly, thereby furthering it and letting people know that you think it's okay that that's going on. A green dot then is the opposite. A green dot is letting people know, however you choose to, that you do not accept any form of violence. You don't support it, and not only that, you're going to do something about it. It doesn't have to be a confrontation. It doesn't have to be a direct, conflict, going up and addressing a situation, but rather you're going to notice it, you're going to pay attention, you're going to look out for your neighbor, and you're going to do something about it if a potential red dot occurs.
Mm-hmm. Are there different levels of green dots? You mentioned that it might not include a confrontation.
Right.
Are there categories, so to speak?
There are. There are two types of green dots that we ask people to do and to think about and kind of learn about. And the proactive is where you may just represent that you don't support violence. Let's say you wear a green dot t-shirt, you put a message on your Facebook page, I don't support violence, period. You are letting people know where you stand. You're letting people know who you are, what you will and will not support. A reactive green dot then is when you actually see something, when you actually witness a behavior that gives you that feeling in your gut that this is not right. It may be leading to something, or you may actually be watching it occur, but you are going to do something to try and prevent it, to stop it. Those are the two types of green dots. There also are the three green dot types that we like to think of when we get nervous about doing a green dot. Like if you're not sure what to do, you can think of direct, distract, or delegate. So the pressure's we're not asking the pressure to be all on the individual who witnesses this potential red dot situation. We are saying if you pay attention, use your brain, use your creativity, think of what you might be able to do while keeping yourself safe. If you're comfortable with the situation, going up and saying, hey, what's going on here? I don't really like what I see. Are you okay? That's direct. You're comfortable. You feel it's safe. You actually approach the situation and say, are you okay? Distract is something that we often suggest for the high school students because a lot of times they're not uncomfortable maybe getting the attention onto themselves. So maybe they might approach a couple that's arguing at a locker and ask one of the couple, what the homework assignment was for an English class. Anything to diffuse the situation, to take the focus off of the arguing that might be leading to violence. And delegate is what I also focus on with the students a lot, and I actually for anyone. Delegate is where you call the police, you call security. If it's at the mall, go find mall security if you see a situation you're uncomfortable with. We don't want the pressure to be on the individual. We just want them to be aware
that something's going on.
Yeah.
I can recall, and I think every one of us probably has a personal story of some point. I recall a situation where I was a store clerk and a customer got a little inappropriate. And I remember looking in horror as the people that were in line waiting their turn did nothing. And I, as a victim, almost felt shame or embarrassment. And I think every one of us remembers that moment when maybe they were someone in need of help and maybe the passersby did nothing. So can you tell me, why don't people get involved?
There's some basic psychology that Green Dot is based on. People react the same way in certain situations all the time. It's part of our psychology. It's part of our nature, I guess. Some of the reasons are personal obstacles. I myself am a somewhat shy person, always have been. I am nervous approaching people that I may not know or approaching a situation that I'm not sure about. Luckily, I'm also a very stubborn person, and I also have been an advocate my whole life, so I will do it. But a personal obstacle that might keep me from doing a Green Dot would be my shyness. It's something I've had to, figure out how to work around. Also, thinking that it's none of your business. I mean, when we encounter these situations, maybe in the community, we've all been there. We've all seen a conflict or an interaction that we knew wasn't healthy. We wanted to do something about it, but maybe we thought, it's really not my business. So the personal obstacles of just the things we think every day about ourselves or about our ability to interact with people that maybe we aren't familiar with or situations we aren't familiar with, those can get in the way pretty easily. There also are these psychological principles. I'm going to actually read them from my list. Diffusion of responsibility. This is an interesting one. The more people that there are witnessing a situation, the less likely anyone is going to help. So if I walked out of here and fell and hurt myself, if there was a large group of students watching, the less likely it would be that I would get help. Whereas if there were maybe one or two, it'd be more likely that I would get help. And that's because people think that somebody else is going to take care of it. So it's strange because you think you'd be more likely to get help with a large group witnessing something negative, but in reality, less likely. Evaluation apprehension. That goes along, again, with the personal obstacle of maybe being shy or not wanting to stand out or confront. We're afraid of what people think of us. So if we're in a situation and we are the only one approaching that, we're the only one doing a green dot, we're worried about what our peers are thinking of us. So we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to stand out. We don't want people maybe questioning our actions. There's also pluralistic ignorance, which means that we think like the people around us. Until someone stands up, we are going to look around, and if no one's doing anything, we're not going to do anything either. These aren't saying, we're bad or, it's negative. It's just interesting that groups have been studied for years and years and years, and these appear in all groups across, everything. Oh, this is an interesting one. Cause of misfortune. If we witness something and we think it's that person's fault that it is happening to them, we will not help them. There's a level of judgment there that we naturally do. So they did a study, and there was a man, I think it was in New York. It's a study in our training. And there's a man in the subway station, and he has a cane, and he had a bottle. In one of the studies, he had a bottle. That's what it was, I'm sorry. In one of the studies, he had a bottle. In one of the studies, he had a cane. Well, when he was passed out, and they had him passed out almost into the train area where it was pretty dangerous. If he had the bottle, no one helped him. They thought it's his fault, he's intoxicated. But when he had the cane, they thought that he was disabled and he was more likely to get help. So there's the natural judging of someone's circumstances that also affects whether we help them or not. And then also the last one is there's a helping model. If we see someone else, and this brings me hope, because if we see someone else step up to help, we're much more likely to help ourselves because that person has made the first move. That supports all of Green Dot's fundamental theories, because if we're the green dot, we will be that person leading the others around us. So as long as one of us steps up, we're all going to follow.
You mentioned the fundamentals of Green Dot, and in preparing for today's show, I did a little research on my own and have read some very interesting program tenets. One of the ones that I think might be surprising, when we see bad things happening, it's easy to fall into those bad things and think society as a whole, as Einstein said,
Right.
The world is a terrible place. But Green Dot knowledge, it defies that. It says that more people are fundamentally good than bad, and they don't want to see others hurt. Is that what you see as you execute your training?
Oh, absolutely. Those students walk in that room in the morning thinking and living their lives one way, and they leave thinking and hopefully carrying that out and living their lives a different way. I see their faces. I see the light bulbs go off. I mean, I see them think, I kind of knew this, but I didn't know what to do with it. They all of them want to step up and help their peers. They just aren't sure how to do it. And there's such peer influence at that age with the high school students that I'm working with. If their friends aren't doing it, they're not going to do it. They're not going to be the one to step up. But after this training, I think they're armed with a little more confidence and a little more knowledge that, hey, if they are the one to step up, there's going to be people who follow them. There's an image in the PowerPoint in the training I do, and it's a potential perpetrator and a potential victim, but all in between there are people. They're all bystanders, and they're on the outskirts, but they're watching and they see what's going on. If every single one of those people stepped forward, they would form a barrier between the potential perpetrator and the potential victim. Therefore, there would be no way that the violence could occur in the first place. And I love that image because if we step forward, if we pay attention, if we do our part, we're going to keep the violence from happening. We're going to protect potential victims. And we also need to think about the fact that we or our loved ones could also be potential victims.
And this applies not just to situations of violence, but just in general situations of negativity.
Absolutely. Just being a good person and standing up for the person sitting next to you, whether you know them or not, whether you agree with them or not, creating a community that is safer. Unfortunately, we do have scary statistics, and we can lower those numbers. I mean, we can lower those numbers if we are all looking out for each other.
I think it's always interesting here at the office. We have, our office manager there. She always says that the only thing a rapist wants you to do is nothing.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very interesting, that by being aware and educating ourselves, we're therefore doing something, whether we realize that just having knowledge
Absolutely.
can be so much in protecting somebody, ultimately.
Green Dot says do something or do nothing. It talks a lot about self-definition. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? How do you want to define yourself as a person? Do you want to be someone who stands up for what you believe in? Do you want to be someone who creates a safer community? And I think most people do. I think most people want to be active bystanders. They want to keep each other and themselves and their family and friends safe. It's just that maybe they're busy. Maybe they have a million other things going on in their heads and they're just not thinking of it. So I think with education and awareness, then when you're in that situation, you can apply what you know. And it makes it that much easier to make a good decision, to make an important decision, because you're armed with that knowledge of what you're actually doing. I always tell my students, we don't expect people to be superheroes. We don't expect people to run around wearing a green dot cape and, solving the problems of the world. What we ask is for people to pay attention. And when you're in that situation where you just feel that something is not right, to stick around, keep yourself at a safe distance, make a phone call, get some friends together. It can be little, the smallest thing, a phone call. Good Lord, we have our cell phones on us at all times. There's no excuse to not make a simple phone call or check in. Are you okay? It's that simple. So I like to focus on the fact that we're just asking for little things, and then those add up to be a huge culture change. But I do tell my students in my trainings, we're not asking you to be perfect, and we don't all do green dots all the time. I live and breathe green dot, and I don't do green dots all the time. And I tell them about a situation where I was shopping at a local grocery store, and I saw a couple arguing pretty heatedly in the parking lot about hot dogs or something ridiculous. But he was grabbing her arm, and it was headed toward a red dot situation. And I knew it, and I felt it in my gut, and I walked right past. And I went in and I did my grocery shopping, and I felt entirely guilty and horrible the whole time, but I didn't do anything. I didn't even alert security, which would have been an easy thing to do. And I was scared. I was scared of the man scared me, honestly. He was very loud and big, and I was intimidated. And I admit that to my students because I'm not asking any more of them than I'm asking of myself. And if we all just try and do the best that we can do more often than not, then it's going to add up to big things. And I know that next time I'm in that situation, I'll do a green dot, whether it's distracting them by going up and talking about the huge pothole in the parking lot, which was huge. I think it's been fixed, but it was huge. Or even just going up and asking the woman, are you okay? So I know that next time I will do it, and that's good enough for me, because it doesn't help to beat yourself up over it either. You just know better the next time.
My favorite tenet: hope is necessary for success. And I think that's interesting because in the business world we say hope is not a strategy. So tell me about hope. I think you learned from your mistake, as you said.
Yep.
That wasn't your battle to fight that day.
Right.
And people think, oh, well, if everybody's turning the other way, it's hopeless.
Right.
But hope is necessary for success. Tell me about that.
Green Dot relies on hope. Green Dot is based on hope. Green Dot is based on the fact that we are mostly good. That, the highest percentage of people in our community, in our schools, in our world, and are good-hearted people. When I see hope in small numbers, because I train these high school students, and when they leave, I am filled with hope, because they are going to soon be our business leaders. They're going to soon be our community leaders, our parents, everything. They're going to be supporting us, hopefully. And so I see it in their faces. I see it in the fact that they are coming up with green dots like crazy to do. I see it in their creativity and how bright they are and how well they respond to the material. So I see hope in the faces of the high school students that I work with. And that's good, because a lot of times you can watch TV or you can see some, just be around some high school students and think, oh goodness, we are in for a wild ride. But I see it. They want the information. They want to be better. They want to step up. They just need the tools. So that's where I get my hope specifically. If there wasn't hope built into this program, it would be a lecture. It would be, you're a bad person, you're not doing enough. Why haven't you done this? And this is, look what we can do. Look what is possible. And that's hope. So we're looking for what can be done and what the future might look like if we all start living this life. And it's kind of a really exciting idea that we could actually change the culture and change our community to be a safer place and not even need a lot of the services we offer, which I don't want to take anybody's job away. But it would be wonderful if we didn't have the numbers and the need that we do.
I like how you say we, because this isn't something that an individual does alone. However, it starts at an individual level.
Yep.
So for the viewers who are watching, who say, I don't have access to Green Dot curriculum, I'm not a student, I'm a grown-up.
Yep.
What can I do? Where do I even begin? What would you say?
I would just challenge everyone to pay attention. There are 3 things that I tell my students, and they really grab onto. When you are in those situations, wherever you are, it could be at church on Sunday, it could be in the parking lot at the grocery store, it could be in the mall, wherever you are. Pay attention. Don't let it color your whole life. Don't let it green become the color you're looking for, or red, horrible red dots that you're looking for. But pay attention to what's going on around you in social situations, everywhere. Pay attention. Think, I'm going to take a second look. I'm going to take a closer look at that. If something triggers that gut feeling. When you're taking a second look, think about, what if that were someone I loved? Put a loved one's face on the person who might be experiencing a red dot behavior and see if you need to step in. So it's not, we're not going to even tell you what green dots you have to do, because that's for you to figure out. Because a green dot can be anything. It can be something as small, like I said, as going up and saying, hey, are you okay? You look sad. To calling the police if somebody's grabbing somebody's arm and shaking them around. Okay, so I would challenge people just to be aware of their surroundings, pay attention, and realize that we all have a responsibility for each other. If we want these numbers to go down of this power-based personal violence, we have a responsibility not only to ourselves and our own, but everybody. I also have some examples of green dots. Would you like me to give you a few examples? Green dots for everyone. Basically, a really good green dot that people can start out with is to believe that rape, abuse, and stalking are unacceptable and be unafraid to say that out loud. You don't have to walk around with a bullhorn in the streets of Paducah because you might get put away. I don't know, bad things could happen. But if it comes up in conversation, or if you introduce that in a conversation, let people know you don't accept that type of behavior. Have conversations about ending violence with your friends and family. Attend a violence prevention event. We offer some of those. We make that available. Make a contribution to or volunteer for your local service provider. We're always looking for volunteers. Check in with friends if you're concerned about their safety and get them connected to local resources for help. So again, pay attention. If your friends seem upset about something, check in with them. That's a green dot. You can also put something on your Facebook page. Facebook is huge because so many people will view it, and they may be like, what is a green dot? But there you go. Conversation is started, and think of how that can spread. So I would just challenge people to think about green dots that might fit into their life, if they want to do proactive, where they actually are, reaching out to the community, or if they want to just pay attention to their surroundings and react in a green dot fashion when necessary.
Fantastic.
They also can contact me, and I will give them more information than they probably ever wanted.
Fantastic. Well, we are so very proud at PASAC of the work that you're doing with Green Dot. What our viewers may not understand is that you're actually working under a grant that's ultimately funded by the Center for Disease Control.
Yes.
It's a very big deal. It's starting in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. The first group of the new generation to receive this information is here in Kentucky with Kentucky students. And
yes.
I'm so proud of that work and so proud that PASAC could be involved. And to our viewers, again, we challenge you to be a green dot, get involved. There are so many opportunities for you as a community member to get the information, to attend a training, to request information from Tracy. Mm-hmm. We have a list of 36 paths from red to green, and we would encourage you to take part of that, get involved with your community. Don't be afraid. Again, we're not asking you to do everything. I think Green Dot says to us, no one has to do everything, but everybody has to do something. And so with that, in conclusion of today's event, I want to challenge you all in the words of Gandhi. Be the change you want to see in the world. And on behalf of the Purchase Area Sexual Assault and Child Advocacy Center, thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to working with you in a time to come as you turn your world from red to green.